we're back. It's been a while. We're back with the Tony Mack Show. We used to do this as the Tony Mack Show and Whiteboard Wednesdays, and we're right back at it here Wednesday. It's a pleasure to have you guys here. Obviously, for everyone out there, a new set of cast around the table. I think the last time everyone's seen us do the show, it was Manny, Jeremy, Brandon. And what I want to do is just kind of kick off the show. This is your time right now to kind of tell everybody who you are. If you want to put your socials out there, get some follows. Throw your love for anyone out there. Go ahead. But we're going to start with Coach Rudy. I'm going to let you just explain who you are, and if you want to put your Instagram or your TikTok or whatever, put that out there, and we'll get going.
My government name is Austin Mays, but everybody call me Rudy. 3-ball Rudy on all social handles. From South Carolina, born and raised. Went to Woodruff High School in the small city of Woodruff. Went to USC Upstate 4 years while I was student assistant for the basketball team. I coached a year at JUCO. I've been a part of the Upper Stars travel basketball program on the Adidas circuit, and head skill development coach at the Upper Star Center located in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and now I'm currently the assistant basketball coach here at Orangeville Prep under Coach Tony Mack.
Good stuff. I'm going to go to my left, Rayshawn.
Coach Rayshawn Joseph. Played for Coach T when I was younger. Kind of grew up playing with his son Tyler. Coached at TRC last year. Fairly new to this, but enjoying the ride. Assistant coach with Coach T on the national team and head coach of the regional team with the young boys. Just looking to kind of develop those guys and see where I can go with this OP thing.
And last but not least, Coach O.
Coach O.
I'm going to say this, Coach Backpack O.
Backpack O.
You're going to have to explain the backpack now, too.
Yeah. So originally from Montreal, Coach O. Where the backpack came from was, if people followed me before, they'll know that when I used to coach with a backpack. And the reason behind it is because a lot of people used to tell me, I really, really believe that you have to be yourself wherever you try to go. So the reason why I started off with the backpack was somebody once told me to take it off, so I just kept it the whole way. So when I was coaching 12 under, 13 under back in Montreal, I would coach with a backpack, and people found it weird, but it kind of made me stand out. It made me connect with players a little bit more. So I'm very, I like individuality, and I'm very peculiar in some of my approaches to stuff. But it's my first year, 1 year and a half, I guess, 1.5. Arrived here February 2021. 2021. And assistant coach on the Orangeville national team. And hey, we are the Tony Mack Show.
You had to throw that in.
We had to throw it in, man.
So, generally, for anyone out there listening, we usually have some pretty good topics, and I think, there's a couple right now that are kind of hot and heavy in the basketball community. One of them, we're coming off the All-Star game this past weekend, and I just want to go around the table and, have an open conversation if you think this was a good All-Star game, a bad All-Star game. What were the highs and lows of this past weekend, in your opinion?
I thought it was a pretty good All-Star game. I didn't expect Stephen Curry to make 16 threes, but in a pickup game with no defense, it's not surprising. The teams were pretty much evened out. I thought so. LeBron always does a good job of picking the right guys, or who he knows who can win games, is going to compete at the end, who's going to have fun and things like that. The 3-point contest was pretty outstanding. I was surprised at the way Karl Anthony Towns really shot the ball.
Do you think, though, I think we could get into that a little, because I think there's two things that you kind of brought up. You said, LeBron, and I think it was so fitting that he hit the game winner back in Cleveland, almost like it was set up to do. But being that Karl Anthony Towns won the 3-point shootout, is that good for the NBA or bad when you look at, is he the best 3-point shooter in the NBA? And is that an indicator that maybe the NBA can't get the right players in the 3-point shootout, or is he a deserving winner?
I think he's proved himself to be. I ain't gonna say one of the best shooters, but one of the best shooters as a big man. I mean, I thought it was a good idea. I think one thing they should do, they probably should do the best shooter of each position, and
Or like guards against bigs.
Yeah, and not
Like a challenge.
Oh yeah, and it just gives hope for the younger big man who can kind of like follow in that path. So right now, if they're an average shooter, and they know they got work to do, they know they can get to that level and become a good shooter like Carlton Towns.
You started off saying Steph Curry, hitting 16 threes. Is he good for this game, or bad for this game of basketball?
He's great for this game, honestly. I mean,
Do you think? I mean, you're a coach. You coach little kids. So if kids come in and start jacking threes and then turning away, looking up at their parents before it goes in, I mean, at what point do you realize that Steph Curry he's perfected bad shots?
I think it's a time to do that and time not to do it. I feel like once kids will start doing that, maybe when they realize the team is not so much better than them. And I think that's another big thing. Like when you go see these 9-10-year-old AAU games, like the skill and competition level is so high and low. Like you have a really, really good 10-year-old team, you have a really, really bad 10-year-old team. And I think it's like the 10-year-old team that's really, really good, they take the game serious and they shoot these shots and they watch the game, not saying they study the game, but they see what the NBA players do and they just go outside and just do it. And as soon as they get out of school, they go outside and just do everything they see the NBA guys doing. And it's kind of showing how the game is changing at a fast rate.
Rayshawn, slam dunk competition, good or bad?
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really watch it. We had games, but from what I heard and the highlights I've seen, it was probably one of the worst I've seen. I think Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon kind of set a high standard, and I think everybody kind of just trying too hard to reach that.
Do you think, with it being the All-Star game now, the dunk off, do you think it's ran its course? You kind of run out of things you could actually do. Do you think it should be replaced with something else? Or should it just keep going every year? Or should you have to try out and show your dunks so that you don't go on national TV and no one make a dunk?
I think the fans should vote, just like they vote who played in the All-Star game. I think they should vote who they want in the dunk contest.
I like the tryout thing.
Yeah, but like they saying, like the game.
There was better dunks in the game.
Yeah.
I think one of the things, when you look at it, the format of the All-Star game, you had Team LeBron against Team KD. Do you like that format, or would you rather see something back with the East against the West and there's playoff, home court advantage on the line for the winning team of the All-Star game, or similar to, I think baseball does it like that.
Yeah.
Is that something you'd like to see, Coach?
Yeah, that would not be a bad format, but I think all of that started because I think one conference was stronger than the other.
Yeah. The West,
and
always.
And it was harder for guys to get into the All-Star game. So they kind of tried to adjust it by just trying to vote in the best players and just have them pick out teams. But there has to be, I'm hoping that there's kind of like a switch, because I think in our society we're very into we move on quick. So the dunk contest just at some point we saw almost all the dunks that people could do, and now we're waiting for somebody. It's almost like you need somebody to dunk with their feet or something like that.
Or a triple backflip or something no one's seen.
Yeah.
What do you think about putting Team LeBron picking players, KD picking players? Do you think that causes animosity or a grudge between some of these players that maybe didn't get picked? Because there was drama leading up to the game about the whole James Harden pick and why didn't people, and it's almost like they positioned each other to have to think. What are you guys' thoughts on that in terms of kind of putting those players in a position to have to pick players? Does that affect future recruiting, future players that play together, even the play field?
Right.
Yeah, it might a little bit, but I think the biggest factor in this is the media. The media spins things in the way that the media wants it to spin. If they want to make if something little was to happen, the media can kind of spin it any way that they want, right? So, I think anybody nowadays you can make a story out of anything.
Right.
So like now it's more like, of course, people can see that as they're trying to recruit or like they have grudge against certain players or, but I don't think there's a way around it. I think at this point it is what it is.
So that's a good
Yeah.
interlude into kind of my next question. And when you talk about the media and spinning things, how is Kyrie Irving not in the top 75 players of all time? And there's other players in there. We don't have to say
Mhm.
names
Mhm.
that I don't think are as deserving as Kyrie Irving.
Mhm.
What are you guys' thoughts on Kyrie should be in there or not?
He should.
You should, definitely should.
And it was just like they was talking about the Pistons team with Ben Wallace and those guys. All those, at least 3 of those guys should be on that list, and neither one of those guys made that list.
Mhm.
And
Well, you look at, is Dennis Rodman really a top 75 player of all time? And Dennis Rodman over Kyrie, or Dennis Rodman over Vince Carter or Tracy McGrady, or there's a lot of names there.
Yeah,
Ben Wallace was a 7-time Defensive Player of the Year. How did he not make that
that's a fact.
over Dennis Rodman? So it's like you said, it's a lot of players that got left out. But you guys got to look at the teams that won and who did what. Like 7-time Defensive Player of the Year, that's hard. Like, that's
I think I don't know the full background on the selection criteria for it, but I look back at like the top, at 50 years of the NBA, they did the top 50 players. Now we get to 75, and we're 25 years removed from when they picked the top 50, right? Am I correct with that?
Mhm.
So how are we getting players that weren't in the 50
that's in
from the 1960s and 70s now making it into the top 75, but not putting players from the last 25 years that had more of an impact
right.
to the game
Mm-hmm.
in the top 75? That's the part that's confusing to me, and maybe I'm missing something, but it's
But it's hard when you're comparing generations, in my opinion, because like I think
but when you
Like-
talk about all times, it's progression.
right,
You know?
but same way as the older generation will be like Michael Jordan was the greatest of all time. Like this generation, if you grow up on LeBron, you're gonna think LeBron is the greatest of all time, and then somebody's gonna come after LeBron, and it's never ending.
But
To me, that's the
but
thing.
here's my thing on that is Michael Jordan was there.
Mhm.
And the level of respect that he still receives. I mean, if you paid attention to when he got called out,
Yeah.
he went up onto the top of the stage in the middle of it.
Mhm.
So like his peers know that he was, the
Right.
king, so to speak.
Right.
And so it's like, I just, there was some guys from like the 1970s that were in it, and I don't know if they were as impactful
Mhm.
as a Tracy McGrady, as a Vince Carter. I mean, when you take Vince Carter's effect as one of the best players, I mean, you could arguably say he changed basketball for Canadian landscape.
Mhm.
For sure. For
You
sure.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, that was a hard one. I think there was some. It was good to see some names in there. It was
Yeah.
good to see, Steve Nash get
Yeah.
in there. It was good to see, even some of our current players.
Yeah.
When you look at that,
Yeah.
being called out there. Kind of brings us to the next. You guys are new to the OSBA. You're new to, for the most part, actually, this is all of your first year
Yep.
in prep basketball
Yeah.
in terms of playing games. What's your first take?
It's competitive. I like this is a real good league. Like a lot of teams, I don't see a lot of teams playing in this league from the States, and they can just come in and just wipe out everyone. Like this is a real competitive league, and it's really up for grabs, honestly. And I like what I saw. It's a lot of guys that I can write their names down and be like, he can go, or like if any kind of reference, I can say, yeah, he's good, he can play. Cause when I first got up here, I mean, I knew nothing. I knew nothing about it. And then now just seeing all this talent around here, I'm really amazed.
Does it kind of put things into a different perspective? Being from South Carolina, you kind of focus in on South Carolina, but your surrounding areas in high school basketball in the States, realizing, holy crap, there's like a whole nother country of
Right.
hoopers that are putting in work still.
Absolutely, and I look at even teams from like even like mediocre teams in the OSBA, and I say like they can go to South Carolina and win, and because like just for me not knowing nothing, it's like now I can like really like compare the teams, compare like the skill sets and the players and the coaches, so like you can compare a lot, and I like this league, and it's for sure on what I know is the best prep league in Canada.
And what do you think, Rachel? I mean, you grew up playing high school ball in Toronto and kind of went through the ranks before there was prep schools. What's the biggest differences that you've seen between when you were growing up in the high school realm of basketball and this season in prep?
I'd say the athleticism and skill. That's like a huge difference. You can see like for me, like I watch some of these kids do certain things, and it's actually crazy. Because
it's ridiculous.
it's like I knew guys that could jump out of the gym, but not like this, and so it's somewhat expected too, just because you can see kind of where Canada basketball was going, and you kind of expected the kids to be this good, and then a prep league. Once the prep league got here, it kind of was expected that the talent base and the talent level and the coaching was going to be up to par. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really surprised. And watching the OP games, I kind of just saw how it was just building.
What about you coming from Montreal?
Yeah.
Pre being here and now that you're here?
Yeah, so pre being here, obviously hearing about it is not the same thing as experiencing it firsthand. A lot of our players leave and try to get to playing in the OSBA because of the competition, because it's a better opportunity. I always said this, Montreal, we have a lot of great players. What we're lacking is kind of like the structure, just structure and more resources behind these players for these guys to flourish. So like most players will leave and try to come to the OSBA. So, and then when you get here, you realize that okay, every game, like everybody can go. Everybody could play. And I think also being at OP, you know, everybody wants to beat you. So like we get everybody's best shot like every game. So like I've been in positions where when I was in Montreal, I was like I was part of like a newer program when I first started, and like you're always trying to become the best, trying to be like target the main programs and everything. But it's definitely a different position being one of the top teams in the OSBA and like having like teams every game. You gotta be on point.
Yeah.
I think I've seen this obviously grow up from the infancy of basketball and when I look at this league this year, the one thing that kind of stands out to me and again I take it with a grain of salt because of COVID. And I think COVID really set the basketball scene back. The one thing that I would like to see different here is it go back to, you know, I always envision high school basketball is not club ball. Mm-hmm. It's a step up. And a step up from high school basketball is prep ball. And that's 2 or 3 steps from club ball.
Right.
And I want to see it gap back out because I really feel like, you know, everybody's a prep team now, and I think until you invest into this game and you build the sustainability and credibility of the academics and the athletics, you know, I think we got some work to do, and I think COVID has caused us to take steps backwards where hopefully there'll be an adjustment period where, you know, I think our league should be, the OSBA I think should be an 8-team league max, because I just don't feel it's beneficial going in winning by 40, 50, and 60 games. I think that it's not good for the development of everybody involved, including the elite players that have a hard time getting up for those games. And then all of a sudden you got to have, you know, you play a really good team, and now you're not as prepared because you just ran through everyone. Right. And I think, you know, when you look at our league this year, the top 8 teams, I think they're pretty good.
Yeah.
I think, you know, when you look through it, I think the playoffs coming up, there's going to be some upsets. There's going to be some great games. There's going to be some, you know, expected results. And I think, you know, if everything goes as projected, I think you look at the Final Four will be potentially the 4 best teams in this league. Mm-hmm. So I think, you know, with that being said, next year going forward, I'd like to see our league really, you know, maybe dummy down the teams in terms of having tiers. A tier 1 and a tier 2, but I agree with you guys. I still think that prep school basketball here is at a very, very high level. But I think we got some building to do. I think we got some development of the game to recalibrate the game after COVID, the post-COVID, back to making this an event, an experience. something that the kids look forward to. Announcers, DJs, fans.
Yeah.
The whole Friday Night Lights is what the OSBA was built to be in the beginning, and I think we got to get it back to that.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that because I think you guys got to see probably the recovery, but you haven't got to see post recovery, and I think that's the opportunity that I think lies amongst us to help build that game and build that for the future. Speaking of competition, speaking of getting everybody's best shot, Juwan Howard. You all probably seen and heard what happened at the end of the game, but I saw a press conference yesterday with Tom Izzo, and someone suggested that they take handshakes out at the end of games. What's your guys' thoughts on shaking hands at the end of a basketball game?
Shake hands. We
can't take that out.
It's just a form of respect. Like both teams just competed. Like good game. Like that's showing your respect for the other team. That both sides competed as hard as they could. However the game ended, both teams competed. It was a fair game. And you shake hands at the end of the game. I don't know why that would change. Like why that has to change.
You're all under the exact same?
Yeah.
So what if I flip that? I'm going to play devil's advocate. I think you should shake hands too, but what if you shook hands before the game? Does it make a difference? Or does shaking hands complete the game? The game play?
Yeah.
I think it completes it. Like
Yeah, it completes that. I think so. I agree.
And I understand not shaking hands during COVID.
Yeah.
You give the wave or you're yelling out elbows in the handshake line, but do you guys think, right or wrong, and we don't have to speak because this is a touchy subject for you guys. You can't say too much on this subject, but was that situation something that could have been avoided? Something that just happened in the heat of the moment, or was it provoked?
Could have been avoided having the heat of the moment.
Kind of everything all in one.
No, I think it was just something that happened. I don't think that was ill intent, premeditated or whatever,
Even, and again, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I look at the whole situation, and I have one of my past players that plays at Michigan, and obviously Iggy went there in the past and played for Beeline, but you just kind of look at the buildup of it as do you think it's a level of frustration that he's having with his team, potentially not winning, losing, I think it was just last week he jumped on the court and grabbed a basketball in mid-play. So just those momentary lapses of judgment.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah.
I think it's tough. I think you guys are all fighting to become college coaches, and I think the pressure on these guys is crazy.
For sure.
To win.
For sure.
With that being said, NCAA, we're talking, college basketball. The COVID year really changed a lot of rules, and there was a whole bunch of things that impact your guys' daily lives, both directly and indirectly. What do you think's been the single biggest change the NCAA has done during COVID that's impacted both you guys as coaches and players that you coach?
It's got to be the year back,
the transfer.
So explain, for people that aren't aware of the transfer rule, what exactly is it, and how has it impacted you?
So pretty much, transfer year is just guys who don't, well, I ain't gonna say who want to, but any guy that want to transfer to another school.
So it's a one-time transfer.
One-time transfer. You get one time, and you don't have to sit out a year, anything like that. I say it affected me in a way just from through travel ball, just trying to get guys recruited, trying to get guys seen, and the transfer rules, it happens. It's not just for Division Ones. It was for all levels, and so it's hard when you truly know that you have a true D2 kid. You're trying to get him looked at in this school. Like, I'm trying to get one of those D1 transfers. I don't want to take no high school kid. So it's hard trying to get these guys looked at, and even JUCO said the same thing. I want a D1 transfer. I'm looking at D1 transfers first, D2, then I'm gonna come back to high school. So it's been like a minor setback, but guys, we still trying to figure things out, and been doing pretty good job at it.
What I mean, at the time that the one-time transfer. So when you say you transfer, you go into the transfer portal, and that's what you're referring to in terms of where coaches want to go find players.
Right.
They want to sift through that entire portal first
Oh, yeah.
to see if they could either steal someone or get someone that played at a higher level
Yeah.
dropping down.
Yeah.
That year with COVID, you know, there was like 3 or 4 things that happened all at the same time. One is the recruiting periods didn't happen.
Yeah.
The one-time transfer happened,
Mm-hmm.
and everyone got a year back.
It was good. Yeah.
And so when you look at that
Yeah.
was, excuse my
Yeah.
language, but it was a shitstorm of things that impacted really the
Yeah.
high school level kids.
Yeah.
Not so much anyone in college. I think anyone in college really benefited
Yeah.
by getting a year back, being able to transfer for free.
Oh, yeah.
I think the only benefit to anyone in high school so far is if you're lucky enough, you don't got to write your SATs now.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I think,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but what are your guys' thoughts? Do you think, do you agree with
I
Coach
agree. I
Rudy?
agree. I think also us being in the thick of things with most of our guys that we have to get signed, I think it's just a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Normally we would be in a position where, not saying that we wouldn't have to go out and look for people, but the process would be way easier, right?
Yeah, I think the travel rules for college coaches
Right,
too,
that
and
too, that
the
too.
unsure of
Yeah.
the, you know, can I go to Canada? Can I not? Can Canadians go to
Yeah,
America?
yeah,
Can they not?
Yeah,
Has played into it as well.
yeah.
The last thing I'm going to talk about, and I think this is a tough one. You're starting on your coaching venture. You've been coaching for a
Yeah.
little bit. You're
Yeah.
pretty new. You're pretty new. I always say coaching kids now has changed.
Mhm.
Kids are different. I
Mhm.
always say that.
Mhm.
What is your opinion on that comment alone? Kids are different.
Mhm.
You know, being a new coach, are they different to you? Because you two are probably the closest to their age. Are they truly different, and what makes them different? Because that comment could be both positive and negative.
Positive and negative, yeah.
So what are your guys' thoughts? Let's
I'm
go.
gonna let
You want to go positive,
Hey,
negative?
I could
What
go on.
side do you
I
want to
could go
talk
on
about?
that. I'm not that old for the record, but I did just hit 30.
I mean, it's back and forth. It's changing though, but
What's
Not-
the biggest thing? If you had to kind of summarize, what does different mean on and I'm going to ask you negative and positive. What is different from a negative?
different in a negative way. I say they playing the game for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
In a positive way, they actually love the game. They
Mhm.
love what comes with it. They love
Mhm.
the process of the game. They not over. They in love with the process. Like they trust in the process of what they have to do. They not saying like, okay, I'm gonna work hard 7 days a week, and on the 8th day something gonna happen.
Mhm.
No, I'm gonna work hard 7 days a week, and then the 8th night, 10th day, I'm gonna work as hard as I did those first 7 days. That's the positive side, and the negative side, I just think like
Do you think the word entitlement
definitely.
Yeah, big one. That's a big one.
and what you think is just they're given things too early, too young, too often? Don't have to work for that, or do you think social media has helped entitlement?
Social media. I mean, because even the kids who can't get everything they want or get anything they want, they just entitled just by social media. Like they see guys getting all these highlight videos and getting these. Ain't nothing wrong with the NIL or endorsement deals, but they see that and they see the best player at their school with all the girls and stuff like that. So I mean, I think it's just. Even though that's been going on, but I think now it's at a higher rate now. Like,
Mhm.
There's just so much more in your face.
it's way so much more.
What about you?
I think one of the biggest differences is it's became more individualized. Like the team orientation of basketball kind of has disappeared a little bit. Kids are wanting to do their own thing, see Steph Curry or Kyrie Irving, and they want to do that rather than buy into the team concept of the game. I think positive is these kids are hella skilled. They've
Mhm.
got some real talent. I think we just got to find a balance, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Balance
Team
between the two.
versus individual.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you think? I'm going to throw this one to you because I
Yeah.
know these two are skills trainers.
Yeah.
skills trainers responsible for helping with the assistance of,
we get into the good part.
of
So,
promoting individualism. It's me and you in the gym. You got to do this. Work on your dribble. Work on your shot. Do this. Sidestep jumper. Step back. Even though you might not be able to ever do that in a game, we're going to work on it because it makes you feel good. Do you think that that's part of the reason that we're going the way we are? Or is it truly just, we can't hold kids accountable anymore?
Yeah. You guys want to defend yourselves?
I think
I ain't gonna lie. At first, I ain't gonna lie. When I first started training, I was doing all the side
That's
stuff.
what I'm
I was
saying.
doing. I was doing all that.
Yep.
Like I didn't care. I was doing it. It looked good. I was doing it. After a while, just like, no, it's not cutting it. So then I started. That's
So
when
do
I
you
started.
do you look at things different because you're coaching them now? So
Right.
you get a kid that's doing side set jumpers
Right.
that can't make 4 out of 20,
Mm-hmm.
and now you got to coach him in a game, and he's taking those shots.
Right.
Does it change your perspective? Like, yo, we can't work on that.
Oh,
Like, why are you
absolutely.
working on that?
Absolutely. And then I just from being a coach and having guys that train with other people, I'm just like, excuse my language. See, that's that shit he teaching. So now I'm like, I'm not trying to. Now I go to coach and be like, what do you want this kid to work on this off season? What do we need to improve it?
So that right there, in my opinion, is like, that's a key thing. Because I haven't had a skills trainer once come to me and ask, what do you need your player to work on?
Yep.
Let me come to a game, sit on the bench. I'll let you sit on the bench
Right.
and see, what is your system? What do you do? What are your expectations? Because you guys all know, we gear our entire offense to their strengths.
Strengths.
But if they're not working on their strengths, of what we perceive their strength to be, because we're with them every single day and practice 3-4 hours a day, now they go to a trainer, they're getting what they want, not what they need.
Yep.
And it's not all trainers, but
Right.
you hit the nail on the head by saying, like, I asked their coach, what do you need him to be better at?
Needed.
Because if he can't go back into a team and be great at what he is expected to do, he's going to look terrible.
Yeah.
I know you got
I think
a lot
what's
to say.
different. I got a lot to say. I think what's different nowadays is that kids have options. That's the different thing. Okay. What we have taken out in our society now is that we taken away the fact that our biggest strength as human is the fact that we can connect with each other, that people are different, and the individuality is important, like I mentioned at the beginning. With that being said, now we're getting mad at the kids for having a certain perception on things, but we're blaming the wrong people. We're blaming the kids. In my opinion, I would blame the parents. I'm just keeping it 100. I'm blaming the parents because what you reinforce is what they're gonna grow up believing. If you really sit back and you think about it, right? So if I think that I can just go somewhere, just pay the trainer, pay him to go on a team, pay on this, pay on that, and then none of the work is gonna be done, you're taking away that whole aspect of the work that he has to put in to actually feel valued, right? And I think in our society now, we have this kind of like, we have a fear of new stuff. We have to embrace how things are.
Right.
Like now, individuality is important. We have to be okay with it, but at the same time, we have now as coaches, like now our work is a little bit harder because now what we have to actually focus on is how do we maximize, like we mentioned, how do we maximize the strengths of everybody without compromising and making everybody understand that yes, it's a team thing, you know? So I think we have to look at ourselves. We could just blame them, but at the end of the day, like the people who made the kids be that way, and so that it's important to them, it's the parents, it's the generation before them.
See, I look at things. I got 7 of my own kids, and then obviously I coach all these other kids, and I look at it like, man, that pathway has already been paved. Let me figure out what all these kids had in common going down this pathway, if that's truly what you want. So, I mean, we all know, you talk to grade 8s and you talk to their parents and they're like, my son's going to play in the NBA. Okay, but what have you done? Where are you going? Who are you with? What is your progression? What is your target? What is What is your, progression plan?
Mm-hmm.
Where's your checkpoints? Because I really don't believe that you could achieve anything without figuring out where am I now, where do I need to be, and it just can't be I'm really good in grade 8 and I'm going to be an NBA player. It's got to be I'm really good in grade 8, but I got to be better in grade 9. I got to be even better in grade 10. I got to be in this talks by grade 11 and grade 12. I should be in this all-star game or this or that as a checkpoint. We all sit here and say Hoop Summit is kind of like that. You go to Hoop Summit, you're punching a ticket somewhere, generally, right?
And that's where I think that where skill development has to go is you said a good point, Rudy. You said that you communicate with the coach, like what it is, like what's important. I think that part is we work on stuff that doesn't translate.
Right.
And that's where I think like a lot of people get that setback. What you should really do is to actually perfect something, you should spend the whole summer working on it.
Yep.
Take it on to the summer. Don't try to work on everything.
Yeah.
But
A wise man once said that if you work on a lot of things, you actually work on nothing at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
And
So-
you look at NBA players, and in generally, you take the definition of superstar means that they're good at multiple things. But your vast majority of NBA players are good at one thing, right? You're either a scorer, a defender, a rebounder, and you look at that, and I think too often we expect kids to be perfect at everything.
Yeah.
And you can't take a 5'10" kid and think he's gonna rebound 7-footers when he gets to college.
Yeah.
Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but like, there's just so many expectations, and I think where your comment comes in is I think adults put the undue. They don't allow the kids right now to enjoy the game.
Right.
I don't think they're all playing, waking up in the morning saying, "Mom and Dad, come on, you got to hurry up, get out of the shower. We're gonna be late. I want to get to the game. It's like, son, wake up, come on, we got a game."
Yeah.
And it's like, no, and I think that's, what the different approach I had to take. I mean, my son now, I've left him until he comes to me
That's the key
and
right
saying
there.
it, because there's so much pressure on him to have to follow in his brother's footsteps. Oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. He's got to love it because he wants it. If he turned around and said tomorrow he wants to play hockey, we're playing hockey.
We're playing hockey.
You turn around and say you want to play soccer, we playing soccer. Like, enjoy what you do. All I ask is if you are playing, give it your all. Everything you got, and figure it out. Be coached.
Right.
Let your coach coach you. If he tells you you're an idiot, all right, cool. Let's figure out why. And let's go back and watch the game film. Let me be of assistance to you, but I can't be there to speak for you. And I got to make sure that you want it. And if you want it, then you're going to pull me. I can't be pulling you. And I think too hard, it's like, well, they're kids. No, they got to enjoy this thing.
Yeah.
This can't be a job at 8, 9, 10 years old. It becomes a job when they're good enough to make it a job.
To make it a job, yeah.
You know?
I think also as parents, as coaches, the biggest thing, just like you said, is like I think the word that comes out here is that you listen to what he needs. Like it's a big game of listening. You have to listen to what it is that they need, and then kind of you have to be willing to adapt. Like as soon as you don't adapt in this coaching game, you're done. You're finished, right? So it's kind of like me. Like when I first started doing TikToks, I do TikToks, Coach 0365 on all platforms. When I first started doing TikToks, a lot of people were like, "Why are you doing TikToks?" I'm like, well, first of all, it was a platform that allowed me to be myself. But also, like, I knew what was coming up. All the players that I had were all on TikTok. So now, Coach is on TikTok. It's like, it automatically makes that connection. Now I got this bridge to be able to get to know them and all that stuff. And I think where things get a little bit tricky is, I'm sure we could all think of somebody that told us they're not going to get Instagram, they're not going to get Facebook, and now guess what? Everybody got Instagram, everybody got Facebook.
I think one of the things with your TikToks, and I think that's a whole subject for like a whole nother show, but I think one of the things that your TikToks do is they're able, from our standpoint, we can relate to them because they're funny, because it's stuff that we encounter every day.
Every day.
It's like everything that happens that you think, oh, yeah. But you never think to put into a TikTok. You've picked out like the funniest aspect of that and created a TikTok. But I think we laugh at it, But I think as like a youth growing up, you could look at it and be like, oh, that's what I look like, or oh, that's how coaches see me. So I think you could look at it from multiple perspectives of like it connects you, because we've walked in gyms and people are like, oh, you're the coach from TikTok.
Yeah.
And it's like there's automatic connection, but at the same time, we all sit back and say, yo, like we're giving them ideas of like, yo, this would be actually funny because this is something that happens all the time.
Right. And in this specific situation, continuing on what you said, is what have I understood? I understood that kids, they're on this all the time.
Yeah.
So now they're actually learning and seeing. You got to embrace the fact that this is it. You take it away, it doesn't really do anything. Like you try to take it away, they're gonna find another way to kind of like connect with their friend. This is the way that they connect. We have to be okay with it, right? So now they're on TikTok all the time. They see these things. They're like, oh, is that really how I look? Sometimes they laugh. Sometimes they learn. Like we gotta adapt.
Yeah.
Like that's the ball. I think that's the word. Adapt. Like as coaches and as parents, like you gotta create that structure, and you gotta be okay with kids living within the. You gotta allow them to be creative within the structure.
Last question, and I'm gonna just jump on that for a second in terms of like advancement. We live in a world that's all about technology, all about numbers. Everything's computing all the time. Analytics in the game. You know, you go back to, you know, baseball movie, you know, and it's about analytics, and you look at even what our league does. We use synergy. And do you think that's good for these guys, bad for these guys? Do you think it helps them with their recruiting? Does it hurt their recruiting? And what have you guys noticed when you go back to a kid? We just did it in practice and show them what the numbers say. What a college coach would log in and see. Does that hit home a little bit more that it's in the computer now and it's not just Coach O or Coach Rudy or Coach Rayshawn or Coach Tony's opinion? Hey, these are the numbers. Right. What are you guys' thoughts on the advancements at high school leagues? Because when we talk synergy, we only like that was college. That was NBA.
Not even high school,
that was something where, man, you had to know someone to like just, yo, bro, just like let me have that password for a bit. I just want to get in there and look. And now it's like high school. You just like, shoot, I gotta upload this shit to Synergy.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's your guys' thoughts on that?
I think technology, when you're looking at analytics, you're looking at film and things like that. I think what it does is that it kind of creates that balance that we need. Where a lot of kids, a lot of us create realities in our head when it's not really it. And I think synergy, I think film, I think numbers really help you understand what the reality really is. So I think that what it does is that it doesn't allow people to hide, right? Not live in this space where you're like, I believe that this is what I'm gonna do. I believe that this is what I do. No,
or
what are the facts?
I believe I'm this, and my coach says I'm this.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like I can really trick myself into believing that no, you're wrong. Everybody's wrong. I could actually trick myself to believe that. When you have the numbers and you sit back, it takes a big amount of self-awareness for you to really understand. Look at the numbers, understand where it is that you need to be able to go. Okay, so now you got the numbers. Now, with the biggest thing that you could do with those numbers is the perception that you have of them. Now I got those numbers. What do I do about it? I could be sad. I'm not one of the best three-point shooters. I'm not one of the best. The percentage says this. I feel like I'm doing the worst defender. I can feel a certain way. But now what do I do about it? The people who do stuff about it, those are the people that really, really, really got that love for the game and really want to get that. Really want to bridge that gap.
Those are the kids you want to see in the gym.
Those are the ones you want to see.
Those are the ones that are working on that. Not the ones that get in there and shoot for 2 hours without a plan. Just to say I was in the gym.
Just that I was in the gym, exactly.
What's your thoughts on synergy and analytic part?
I think it's I thought it was a pretty good idea. When I first heard of it, I didn't know what it was, but once I started really just getting into it and looking around, like you can find literally anything that you want to find.
Do you find that it changes the way you coach? Like when you start looking at numbers, does it skew when you watch film and then you look at numbers?
Oh yeah.
Does it skew what your planning is or what you?
I think it changes training as well, like skill development.
Right.
Like it allows me and the player to actually focus on what your path is and where you're actually headed, and you can kind of choose like from colleges and what colleges do and pros do, and you kind of actually find a path within that. So for me, I love it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think for me it's it was, I went from having nothing to having, you know,
Mhm.
synergy or stats. But I think one thing as a coach I've always done was look at what do the numbers mean
Mm-hmm.
to wins and losses. And I think you guys will know that when we get on the board and I put numbers up there of what I think a win looks like.
Yeah.
And I think when you go back and look at synergy, now it kind of reconfirms whether you were on the right path with what you think your team was capable of or not.
Yeah.
And then you could adjust it, or, you know, what we've done, we've used synergy to look at what it's going to do to our practice plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do these numbers correlate
Mm-hmm.
and then what do we need to work on to fix these numbers?
Yeah.
And then what does that equal on the bigger planning table? So I think it's good.
Yeah.
I think it's just my hardest part with it, and I want you guys to just jump in on this, is when you play so many games, does every single game mean something to those kids as much as those stats are going to mean to college coaches looking at it? And do more games hurt these kids because they don't put the same effort into every single game, but the stats are still running?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, like we were talking about before, like we're living in an era where people want stuff quickly. You want the quick likes on Instagram. You want the quick. There's a lot of people with quick
Instant
money
gratification.
Instant gratification, exactly. You know, that's why a lot of people shoot threes. It's worth more points. I get 3 points right away instead of 2, or something like that. When you look at it from a psychological standpoint, I think when you play a lot of games, what happens is the game is the gratification, right? So when you play a lot of games, like just the process of getting ready for a game is different. Because when you just play a whole bunch of games, especially AAU and things like that, like I think that can get lost. Just like that little aspect.
The appreciation
the
for
appreciation.
every second, every minute.
Absolutely.
You guys agree?
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree 100% with that.
absolutely.
Well, I think, you know, we're gonna say something. I think we could go on all day, but we'll save a lot of these talks. I think we'll get back at this again next week and really get back into this, you know, week after week. Thank you guys for coming on, and obviously we'll continue this. And I think one of the things that we'll try to do is get our past coaches on for a show where we can reconnect everybody and have, you know, conversations about where they're at and where you're trying to go and what they were feeling when they were sitting in these seats. And I think that would be a pretty cool show for everyone to watch, and then maybe even get some of the players on here with all of us, so
Yeah.
to get their perception on things. And out there, if there's any ideas, feel free to shoot any of us a message for any show topics or things like that, and we'll be right back at it on the Tony Mac Show.
Yeah.
Yes,
Peace.
sir.
What was that, 50 minutes?